Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening this Sunday, July 21st, 2024. And here we are for Witness to History. I'm Donna Whyte, and as you know, Witness to History is a way that our Moreland community gets to know each other better. If you haven't been with us before, you will know that we have some surprises from time to time with how it is that we present Witness to History. And at this time, we're probably up to, John, I don't know, maybe about number 45 or 46. This started in July of 2020 when we thought that we would only do this on Zoom because of the pandemic. And here we are in 2024, and we're still at it. And as you just take a minute to see all of the people most of the people that we've interviewed on Witness to History since July 2020, we invite you to think about being our guests on Witness to History. Today we have a very, very special version of Witness to History that we're calling Moreland Elementary School Memories. And I'll tell you a little bit about how this came about. This happened because my daughter, Miata Hunter, had a birthday recently. I won't say which one it is, but it's okay. Because she graduated from Shaker High School in '92, so it was her 50th birthday. And she had a number of her friends there, and they started talking about their memories. She had different friends, from school, from elementary school, the dance moms, from her work. But when I heard some of these stories about Moreland Elementary School, I said, okay, here is a Witness to History program for us. So before we get started on this wonderful conversation, I want to thank a few people. John Dutton, my partner here, who's my co-host, and he helps us make Witness to History look real easy because he's behind the controls. And I'd like to thank Megan Hayes, who's our Shaker librarian, who keeps these Witness to History interviews on the online website here at Shaker Library, as well as Kevin Kay, who came up with the idea of Witness to History, Theo Darden, and all of you who are here with us this evening. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you graduates of Moreland Elementary School, 1990, 86, and 87. Okay, I will start off with women who are not my children, but I'll start off with Janessa Hill Slade. Carmen Ellington, Coleman, Miata Whyte Hunter, and Mariama Whyte. And we were trying to figure out how we were going to do this, but we'll start off to introduce you to a few memories through our pictures that we have. And to let you know, we'll go back now to one of the principals who actually was the principal of Moreland Elementary School when all of our guests here were children. And here's Dr. Dolores Groves. And I had this privilege to have my children be at Moreland Elementary School when Dr. Groves was the principal. And I always say to people, I don't know if I knew what I was doing, but it was a good idea. It was one of the best decisions I ever made. And I want to thank Dr. Groves for her leadership of Moreland Elementary School at the time. And we have a few other pictures here that I was able to find in the Shaker Library archives just to bring back a few memories of Moreland in the 1980s. So we have another picture here of Mrs. Betty Hess. Many of you remember Mrs. Hess, and Mrs. Hess was the math teacher. And she was the person who was the director and the teacher for the math projects. Many of our students participated in math projects. And there are always great pictures of children. This was probably around second grade. I think this was 1982. And one other picture we have here before we start our conversation with our guest today is a picture that I recognized of a person who I saw grow up throughout Shaker. And so we have one more picture, and here we are. So we hope that some of the people who appear in these pictures will show up on our Witness to History, but that's David Good in the foreground there. And looking at the pictures, I asked Mariama, I said, is this David Good? She said yes, as well as Matt Freeman, who's on the left, and Ross Babbitt, who's also in the picture. And so these memories are going to come to life through the conversation we have today. And so I would like to just start off with a question. and I can ask all of you this question, and you will pass around the mic, and we'll have a good time. And then we'll see some pictures at the end. So let me ask you, and anybody can answer this. When and where did you move to Moreland, or to Shaker Heights in particular? And you all can pass the mic around and talk about that. And reintroduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Carmen Ellington Coleman. So I moved to Moreland in 6th grade by way of Warrensville. So my story is a little, it's not that exciting, but my mother used to have to go to work super early. So we lived in Warrensville, and I went to school from my grandmother's house by way of convenience, right? Because my mother had to be at work at, a very odd time, let's say 4:40 a.m. So she was fortunate enough to get a shift change, and that is when my move to Moreland Elementary came to be, and so it was a great opportunity, and it was very welcoming. I've got to get used to this mic. I'm not like Mariama. She's an expert. But so that's a little bit of the backstory of how I became a part of the Moreland community.
So my name is Janessa Slade, and I actually moved to Shaker Heights with my family. Well, my family moved us to Shaker Heights, my parents specifically. In 1978, we came to Shaker. So I was starting school in 1980. So I did start kindergarten at Moreland Elementary School.
So my name is Mariama Whyte, and I am, of course, Donna Whyte's daughter. We moved to Shaker in 1982. And I was in the 2nd grade. So we were coming from Cleveland. We were just in Cleveland for a year. And then we moved to Shaker in 1982. Yeah, 2nd grade.
And I'm Miata Whyte Hunter, and I was in 3rd grade. So just a little bit before that, we were in Columbus. So I did my schooling, kindergarten, half of 1st grade in Columbus, half a year in California, 1 year in Cleveland, and finally we got to Shaker.
Miata gave the whole story.
The whole story. So there were lots of things that happened prior to
That's right.
coming to Moreland Elementary, and that's where we stayed.
And I have to tell you, and at that point, I said, since this was the 4th school district my children were in, I made a commitment that we would not move again, at least until 1993, when Mariama graduated from high school, and the rest is history. Here we are, many, many years later. So, we had this wonderful conversation before, we came on the mic, and I'm going to let this just go. Tell me some of your fondest memories about Moreland Elementary School. And just pass the mic around. And who wants to be first?
I'll start because when the picture of Dr. Groves came up earlier, there was a conversation just about her. And one of my memories is just knowing that there was a principal. I don't even think I even knew who the principals were at the other schools, right? But she just had this presence that you knew who was in charge. I remember her knowing everyone's name. I remember the teachers really respecting her, right? And you would hear her like heels coming down the hallway and coming in the classroom, and but I just didn't ever remember prior to that like a principal. So it was just like this presence of this person who just kind of commanded the room. We all listened, but it wasn't like a disciplinarian or anything like that. It was just like this. She had a presence. So I just wanted, just elegant and refined, and you just kind of wanted to be like her.
Just to piggyback on that, I just remember her being regal and just being like, here comes Doc. Well, she was Mrs. Groves at the time, but then I remember finding out, because she lived in Shaker, and I remember finding out that she was on a bowling league with my cousin, who really I considered my aunt because she was my grandmother's first cousin. So when I found out that news, oh my God, I was like, do you all know that Dr. Groves both? Well, Mrs. Groves at the time. But, and then I joined Olivet in about 22 years ago, 2000. And she was a member there. And I just remember we sat in the balcony together all the time. Every Sunday, you would think it was the first Sunday I ever saw her. I was like, oh my God, Dr. Groves, hi.
Yeah.
It was just, I just think she was so well respected. Another memory for me is Mrs. Lane. So having those two African American teachers in a district where culturally it wasn't as diverse in regards to staff, right? I think that was just really big and powerful for me as a young Black girl, just seeing those images. And today we talk a lot about being seen and needing to see images of yourself. So, sorry. And so that, for me, that's a memory within itself, right? Just having those role models and those strong women. And if you know Mrs. Lane, she was just as powerful and just as inspiring.
So I think that I'm just finding out today that Miss Groves actually came in 1980 at the same time. I was starting half-day kindergarten. I was in the PM class. And yes, Miss Groves, it was just like when she came, it's just like, oh my goodness. And then there was Mrs. Morgan, rest in peace. She actually went to Eastview with me and Miss Lane. We all went to Eastview together. So like it's still celebrity, and I still call Miss Lane, and she would, it's like, why are you calling me that? Ma'am, I will never call you that, So I mean, Miss Lane, even when she got married, like Miss Lane. So, their presence, even now, almost 50 years old, you're still looking at them like when you went in the classroom on a Monday, when you're in sixth grade, and that's the person you're going to see, and you're so excited about that, and then the fact that they're proud of you, they've watched you grow up and they've been there since the beginning. That's an incredible experience to have, so.
It's really great to be able to still have relationships, with our teachers from elementary school. Dr. Groves, I have her cell number. Every now and then we, talk on the phone. It's really nice. And, just to be I remember, what was it? 5 or 6 years ago, I was in a play, and some of the Moreland, teachers came. Miss Lane was there, so it's nice to be able that, teachers, of course, they watched you grow, but they also continue to support you in all your endeavors. The cool thing about that too is a memory. Everything really did start for me in terms of my creative life at Moreland. I remember the first time I had to do a presentation. A lot of people have heard this story, but if you've just heard it, I had to do a presentation, and the word presentation literally scared me to death. And it was in the 4th grade. I had Mrs. Britton, Mrs. Britton's maiden name, Mrs. Weldon. Yes, Miss Weldon. I had Miss Weldon at the time. She's Miss Britton now. And we had to do a presentation. I was mortified. I told my mother I didn't want to do it, and she said, "Do a skit." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do a skit." And Janessa was in the skit with me. Janessa and Tiffany were in the skit. And I think it was called How to Procrastinate. And I don't know if you were my mom or my friend. I can't remember.
I was taller than you.
Right. I can't remember who was what, But, I got my friends together and I did this skit. And actually that was literally the beginning of me seeing myself differently. Thank you, Mother, for that suggestion. But also the 4th grade was when we did our school play. And so I became very, just much more confident to be able to audition, that possibly before that, I don't know. But the fact that we had these creative outlets, so we had the 4th grade as a requirement, And I mean, the teachers were so supportive, and we just had so much fun. I just remember having a lot of fun. I mean, we did work, obviously, but it was fun. It was fun. And our teachers were so so engaging. Miss
Yes.
Anderson was my 3rd and 6th grade teacher, and I loved Miss Anderson. And actually,
Yeah.
I really related to her too because she had a stutter and I had one too. And I was
Yes.
like, oh, we have something in common, you know. And so it was just so. It was for me very safe, creative
Yes.
place. So many memories, but that's the one that I would say that really sticks out. Is it really helped me to develop my voice? Yeah.
That's good.
Mhm.
So you brought up so many memories. Let's just talk about academics. You know, the challenges. One of the things I thought about when I really recognized where we were, where we were, and the decision to move to Shaker was not something that I spent much time making that decision. It had to do with having a friend who I know, Iris Anderson, many of you know. I moved to Shaker because she was here because we were children in elementary school together, if you didn't know that. And I moved because she said she lived in Shaker. And my first impression of Shaker was how traditional traditional it was, compared to other districts. And but I said, okay, that's okay. The academics were very rigorous, and I chose for my children to go to Moreland because I had a choice. I don't know if, and probably your parents did as well, because I had a choice between Moreland and Fernway. And I said, well, we're in the neighborhood, so they'll go to Moreland. So tell me a little bit about some of the academic challenges or expectations you knew that your teachers had of you.
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Well, I think with Miss Lane, I noticed I've always been an avid reader. So Miss Lane knew how to spark that interest, and as an educator, I think we can appreciate a teacher who can bring out the best in you. So I was an avid reader, but I was never ready to take it to the next level. And so Miss Lane entered me into the Young Authors Contest. It was something I would never thought of doing, writing a book, right? I love to read. I've been reading since I was 3 and 4. But to write a book was not something in 6th grade that I thought about. And she made that a reality. And I wrote this book, and I remember her taking me wherever this was to enter the contest, and it was like this big deal. It was bounded. And so I think that experience, I'm an English teacher, and so just to transition into that as well, it definitely spearhead my passion for teaching and learning in English and discovery. And so I thank Mrs. Lane for that. Miss Birdsong was my 10th grade English teacher, and she definitely was also strong, very strong. We know that. She was phenomenal, and they made every challenge seem like something you can conquer. And if it seemed overwhelming, I don't think that they ever made me feel like I was lesser than. They would just say, you can do it. And so as an educator, I find myself often saying to my own students, yes, this is a challenge, but you can do it. You really can. So I think the academic piece, it was a challenge. It was engaging. We throw that word a lot around now, but in the 80s, Shaker had that figured out. Yeah, and it was organic.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things that I always say when I reflect on my time at Moreland, not only was I in math projects, like you take this test, we came in 3rd grade, 2nd grade, and I just went off to math projects, right? And in math projects, you worked like at your own pace. It wasn't like, here's the curriculum. I don't know what was happening in math class with the rest of my friends. But Miss Hess was my teacher for math projects. Miss Gessler was my teacher for math projects. So that was something like that was special about Moreland in particular. My understanding is that every school had its own little thing, like Magnet, and Moreland had math. And so as a school that was 90-something% Black, You know, you had white students that came that were bused into our school, one because of the math projects program. So that's really special about Moreland, right? So that might have been a way for there to be some integration or something. I don't know. But one of the things that I always say about Moreland, especially because it was a predominantly Black school, is that I believe that everyone who came out of Moreland knew that they could do anything.
Yeah.
It was instilled in us. You felt like, I feel like the teachers like wanted to be there. I don't know how they decided who goes where, but it was like, you know, I know more now, but I don't know how they decided that. But the combination of teachers that we had that empowered Black children without saying like, because you're Black children, they just loved us. I mean, I had Miss Anderson, 3rd and 6th grade, favorite teacher of all time. Had wonderful teachers otherwise, but you know, that's my girl. Just set the foundation for all the things you're going to see later. And so walking into middle school, being in classes with people that don't look like you necessarily, you were prepared for anything. It didn't matter. And there was a confidence that we had when we walked out. Right. And it wasn't something that had to be spoken. You know, it was just like, this is what we do. It was an expectation. This is what you do, and you do nothing less. And if you do something less, that's a problem.
Right.
Because this is not how we do things here.
Even amongst our friend groups.
100%.
It was not something that I tell my kids today, that wasn't cool not to do your work. I talk about Miata and Macy all the time because they were that STEM before STEM, Macy, Knox, Green. So they were part of that STEM track before STEM was cool, right? And so everyone was like, I remember I said, I'm gonna take AP Physics because Macy and Miata, they in AP Science. Got my first D. I'm like, Lord, now I'm on punishment for 9 weeks.
For being a follower.
For being a follower. Why take AP Physics?
Something, we all know that.
And but I was determined.
You were inspired.
I was inspired by my friends.
Absolutely.
To be on that track. And then I couldn't use the phone for 9 weeks because of y'all, because I'm like, yes, I can do this. So I think that is important. It's important to point out, though, we want it to be great.
Yeah.
We want it to be great. And the whole 99% or whatever we were African American at Moreland, I don't ever think that for us, we realized that was a unique situation in Shaker with 9 elementaries and more being much more diverse, Onaway probably being predominantly white. We didn't really get that. And so then we were just in our space growing and matriculating and wanting to be great. So when we got to middle school, I don't even think that was an issue for me saying, oh, I came from Moreland and worrying about other people being like, oh, Moreland? You know, we were like, let's go. And so I just remember that being
So you
a
took
part of-
AP Physics.
Until I took AP Physics and could not use the phone, trying to hang with Macy and Miata. Like, right, because I was advanced in math, right? So my parents would always say, oh, she loves math. She's going to be a doctor. No, I'm good in math. And not science. It just wasn't pairing together. My brain...
It wasn't connected.
Yeah.
It did for them, though.
The funny thing is that I did start in Shaker when I was in kindergarten. So my experience is a little different because the teachers that looked like us, they actually were in kind of the upper grades. So like, but to your point, the teachers wanted to be there. They loved us. They invested in us. I've described Shaker as a utopia before. It's something that you do not see in a lot of communities. What you have. That's why I brought my family back here, because I wanted them to experience, just the camaraderie and to be able to go to Heinen's and it's a whole reunion and them to really think that their mom is a celebrity because they're like, I saw somebody today on the playground. They're like, I know your mom. And I'm like, what did they look like? They're like, they describe them. And I'm like, oh, that could be anybody, because, right. And then we're all still connected.
Yes.
You don't connect with people in elementary school, and it continues, especially at the magnitude that you experience in Shaker, because it's not like one or two of us, you're talking about classes and classes and numbers of people, that, you've known for eons. Sorry, I'm giving his whole entire name, but David Good has been my best friend since PM kindergarten, half day with Miss Walker. Yeah.
I didn't know it was before
Yes,
Moreland.
we
Wow.
we started in kindergarten together, like love of my life, like
Wait, so
we only had half day kindergarten at that time.
okay.
So
I thought you
half
meant
day.
before. Okay,
With Miss
gotcha.
Walker. And so Miss Walker was like really, really short. So I was like taller than her almost in kindergarten. So, it's like, everybody had their thing, what made them stand out, what made them important. And our teachers always highlighted it. And they always, just really spoke to what empowered us, And, I remember going to Miss Anderson's house. You remember?
We had that
What
field
teacher?
trip.
What teacher takes you to their house?
Right.
Where does that
Probably
happen?
can't do that anymore. I don't know.
Exactly.
Right.
With her husband having to be on the grill and serving us and
Right,
stuff like
exactly.
that. Shout out to Mr. Anderson's husband, Mr.
I
Anderson.
remember that. That was fun.
But yeah, and then to go on, my son had her as a team teacher when he was in the 6th grade. So I have pictures of Mr. Kangas with my daughter. So, they were literal celebrities in our life, right? And then they're the greatest thing, let me tell you, you remember Halloween when Mr. Kangas rose up out of those leaves? The Halloween
Oh
parades
my
we would have?
gosh. It's because Janessa remembers
it was
everything.
Scary, but it was
She
so
does.
exciting. Everybody jumping up and running out that school because we were all scared because Mr. Kangas came up out the leaves. But
We had fun.
we had in a great childhood.
Yeah.
Like that foundation, that is, a foundation a house can't be built on a shaky foundation, a cracked foundation, right? And so our foundation was solid, and it started here, so that's always been incredible to me. And I just try to give my children a piece of that, that was an accomplishment to me as a parent to give them that idealistic childhood, so.
Mr. Kangas.
Yes.
Of course you would remember that
was my
story.
guy.
Now it's coming back to me.
Because we were traumatized, right? And enthralled at the same time.
We're like, "Ah."
Wait, don't go home. Right.
Like, we're out of here. Oh my God.
Whole Main
Okay.
Street out there.
Okay. So I was gonna what was I gonna say? Now I'm thinking about this. So when we came to Moreland, I was a little behind, well, according to Shaker standards. I was behind in my reading, which I think I was, so in Shaker, it's like I was on grade level.
Which was not good enough for Shaker. That was what I was told. So they had testing, which I had also get used to because Shaker tested all the time.
Yeah.
And I had this very nice, ambiguous letter that came home and said that, your child's doing fine. She's reading at grade level, which was 2nd grade, but that's not good enough. In Shaker, the standard is that the children read at least a grade level higher. And so it's up to me as the parent to agree to having your daughter pulled out. So after I sat back and said, oh, God,
I'm offended.
my
Blasphemy.
daughter, yes. Then I said, okay. So you tell the rest of the story. Yes.
So of course, as a young person, I don't know the letter. I just know that I'm Mrs. Routman, Mrs. Regie Routman. would come, and I think there were maybe 4 or 5 of us that were pulled out, and we would just read. I mean, we would read these picture books. We would just read, and I don't even know if I knew why I was there, because I was, I don't know, 6, 7.
But it was a good time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And also too, right, yeah. And it was just a few of us too. So I was kind of one of those,
Special.
yeah. So I was like, oh wow. And I was one of those kids that I did not like to read out loud. I was very internal, so it was like I would rather do things by myself. So that was practice for me because we had to read out loud, and I don't remember this, but I guess, you said by the end of the year, I was just reading all the time.
Yeah.
Goodness, and all you needed was a scratch and sniff sticker.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was enough to
Those
motivate
scratches,
you to the next.
Stickers are important.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Stickers are instrumental in my life. I remember when my parents would come home after voting and having their I voted sticker. So like, wow, that literally was a thing. That was important to us, and we always
needed
got
those
stickers.
stickers.
Yes, and I mean, even now, like I still kind of like when I take them off apples, I put them on the bag. And just I love stickers, and that was such an accomplishment. That and pencils, and we had so many specials. They call them specials now, but we had correct.
Unified Arts.
Okay, unified arts.
Yes.
Oh.
So
Specials and shakers.
there are some there are as educators, we know there are some people who are moving toward other terms for those classes, which are
Okay.
unified arts.
Oh, got you.
That is definitely something that I appreciate. I've been out of the classroom for many, many years. I'm in the court system now. But it's funny because we had programs within Moreland that no other school had. The resource room. We made Superman burgers. No other school did that. Like when we got to middle school,
You remember literally everything.
the discovery
Right. We didn't have the
room.
Superman burgers.
No, but you remember when we made applesauce. We made butter.
We made donuts.
Donuts. We had the discovery room because Miss Hess was in discovery room before she was doing the math projects. We just had something so different. And when I would talk about it as, like an older, like teenager and early 20s and things like that, people are looking at me like, you are an alien. Like they don't do that in school. You're lying. Like we did.
Yeah, we
we
did.
did. We did these
did.
things.
We
We
did 'em
made
all.
Superman burgers. We had so it was a burger and the cheese was cut in like the Superman symbol, and then we put ketchup and mustard on there. And like you got to do that in a specific grade. I think 3rd grade, maybe you got to do it, but like you knew every grade what to look forward to. There was always something that just propelled you, like when you get to the next level. So I think that motivated us, not to finish school, because I don't think too many people think about dropping out in elementary, but just like every year we were waiting and anticipating the next big thing, because everybody gets to do that in the 4th grade.
Right.
Everybody does this in the 5th grade, and you're just waiting and anticipating. And I mean, it's just,
Yeah, Hill Farm. So yeah, I think that too, like that's the spearhead of trips too, right? So field trips where you go far. We thought Hill Farm was so far.
Right.
And you're gonna sit on the bus with the person who liked you.
They went to Kentucky.
That's right. Yeah, we went to
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Shaker Town.
What?
I thought you guys didn't go.
No.
Oh.
no, we were the
No.
only class
I think we
that
had a
ever
Oh,
went to
wait.
Town, Kentucky.
But I did.
Oh.
I do want to, excuse me, everyone. I was in charge of safety patrol.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. I was a co-captain. Do you remember Terrence? Terrence with the red hair, Terrence. I don't know his last name. His name was Terrence. He was the captain. I don't know how it happened. I think it was just because he was a boy. But I was the co-captain, and that year they picked 2 students to go to DC, to Washington, DC, to represent their school for safety patrol.
And who went?
I forgot about that. That was the first time I ever went to DC. I went by my
third grade.
well, I went by myself with Terrence.
Right. It was just the two.
Right?
Now,
It was
did you guys have a chaperone? Because they
it wasn't my mama. No, I'm just
No, a teacher chaperone, right?
well, no. Well, let me tell you this. It wasn't Shaker based. It was a safety
national
patrol,
program,
a national thing. So 2 kids from every school was selected.
Okay.
And so Terrence and I were selected to represent Moreland.
Okay.
And so I don't think the chaperone was anyone we knew.
Oh.
Yeah. So my mom, I'm like, Mom, I gotta do this.
Gotta go to DC.
I have been selected. And so that was such, I remember our room. Right. Well, it was 6th grade. That was when I got in high school with these people being in STEM advanced classes. But yeah, I went to DC in 6th grade, and I remember thinking that was such a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Like,
It's a big deal.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, my mom didn't go. It was just she had to sign this permission slip. Miss Lane, I think I even tried to convince Miss Lane to convince my mom. You know, tell my mom about it.
Right.
Get on this now. She's got to sign this. So yeah, we went for 3 days, and it was all expense paid. So we had like a food voucher. And so by the time we got in 8th grade and we went to DC, it wasn't a big deal to me because I had already been.
I already took my DC trip.
Big time, 6th grade.
Big time, 6th grade.
Okay, I want to piggyback a little bit on the reading program, just a little bit on the reading program. So after that time, and you know, you have to say what it is that your major was. You know, Mrs. Routman made Mariama like a reader. She's just a voracious reader. And I knew that Miata didn't like reading. Math, yes. Reading, no. So from one year to the other, and you know, I found that when I first, you know, came into Shaker, I met another person I had grown up with, Francine Farmer, Lisa Farmer's mother. And so she said, come on, you have to be part of the PTA. And being part of PTA also means that you have access to the principal outside of school hours. So I'd say, and I would, you know, talk to Dr. Groves and I'd say, you know, that reading program is really wonderful, and Miata doesn't like reading. Can she be in the program? Yeah. So she'd be very kind, and she would look at your test scores and she'd say, Donna, I'm sorry. You know, there are other students who need it more than me. I said, but she doesn't like reading. She says, it's not really that's not really the reason for this program. So I'm sorry. Miata can't be in this program, but I tried. I tried at least 2 years because I wanted to make Miata like reading. But the rest is history. But it was such a good program. It was such a good program. I mean, one of those, again, the decision to be here was just, you know, I was somewhat uninformed, but it was the best decision I could have made. And I knew that as soon as you all stepped foot in the school. And the choice for me also had to do with the fact that I wanted my children to be in a school where they were in the majority. And I also, and you've already said this, about how every teacher loved being here.
And you knew it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And if I could just piggyback on the reading program with Miss Routman. So my sister, she's 4 years younger than I am, and she worked with Miss Routman. And at the time, there was a book published, and she appears in that book with Miss Routman. Really? And when I tell you that's her claim to fame, but she is the most avid reader in the world. She loves reading. Like, she would want to go on punishment so that she could sit in the room all summer and just read and read, because otherwise she'd have to go outside and play. She would do that too. But I think that because she wanted to read so desperately and just have that time away to herself, that like she would get in trouble just so she could go get a sack of books from the library, which is now Stephanie Tubbs Jones, and
Right.
just read. I mean, it's crazy, but you know, that's one of her biggest, you know, memories of being in Moreland is
Wow.
Miss Routman, you know, and just her love of reading.
So I have another question. Okay, so we've been talking about school, and all of us live in Moreland. So let's talk about going to school, some of the things that you did outside of school, the playground, you know, how you made your friends outside of the classroom. Give us a little bit of information about that experience that you may have had, or a few different experiences you may have had.
Well, I think an ode to hip hop, right? Is it the 50th anniversary of hip hop? So I think we were part of that really big piece here at Moreland because at recess, Miata can attest to this, we would have battles.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
us.
Not us.
Right.
We
But
would
We'll watch
we
'em.
was just like, yeah, hey. We weren't battling. We had no lyrics, no rhymes. But that was a big deal. So just a ode to hip hop. When we were class of '86, that was a big thing for us. Every day at recess, someone was battling. Larry Burdell or Larry
Yeah.
Reeder or
Larry Burdell.
who else?
Larry
It was a
Ford.
lot of Larrys.
A lot of Larrys. Yeah.
Jason Morrell would be battle. Would Quinn battle? Was Quinn part of the battle or was he?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
So yeah, but
Did Damon used to battle or break dance? Some people, you know, because some people,
Dancing.
yeah,
people were
dancing.
DJing,
All types of
right?
stuff,
People were
DJing.
DJing. That was a big thing for us, and it transitioned into 7th grade. And so I just think like that was really fun for us.
I remember Lottie Dottie was the first.
Yeah.
Lottie Dottie, we like to party.
We don't cause trouble. We
We don't
don't
bother nobody.
with.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, just make us look good.
That's
That
what
was
we'll be
6th
talking about
grade.
on the playground. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a time where we would remember we would take the I know I did take the tape recorder, play it back, write the lyric down. Especially Fly Girl. I know I did that with Fly Girl like multiple times. But that was something fun at recess and playing kickball.
Yeah.
Kickball was
a
big.
transition though. Like in the lower grades, we played hard.
Yeah.
Kickball like crazy.
What was that other game we played on the hill? Remember the
We
hill?
played kickball. Our class was like the
Yeah.
whole class played
kickball was
kickball.
serious.
Like
Yeah.
we were over there in the corner, closer to the
And remember
chagrin
the
side.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
little walkway.
And yep, because that's how we kind of went home. We walked through that little
Yeah.
walkway, but we flew to the kickball field.
Yeah.
And like it was boys and girls. Sometimes we were mixed teams, you know, but based on ability. Sometimes it's boys against girls.
Yeah.
But like we were out
Right.
like hard.
Like hard.
I mean, like I can't believe I was willing to sweat like that.
Yeah.
You know, like you know what I'm saying? Like
gotta go back
I mean,
inside.
and then go back inside and get to it. But it was so funny because it transitioned to much more mature things like music, like dancing. But I think we were still playing kickball.
We were.
in the
We were
6th
still
grade,
playing kickball
you know?
in 6th grade. But it was just funny that whole thing about hip hop that came in my mind because
Yeah,
that
that's where it
rap
started.
battle stuff was serious.
Absolutely.
And I don't remember that in other grades.
No.
I remember 6th grade being the time where that came about. So yeah, that was
And then in the winter, the hill, it would ice over.
right.
And we would
slide down that hill.
Not for you, okay.
Miata,
But
you didn't do it. I
we
did.
would wear our snowsuits.
Yeah.
We
You
come
were
in our
scared?
snow pants.
I'm not
and-
a downhill girl.
Oh.
A roller coaster, yes, because you like harnessed in. But there was this one. I don't do that.
I don't do that.
I don't do that.
I do remember
I went
between the
down
two
a
of us, I was
slide.
always down
Yeah,
that
I
hill.
went down
You
a
did-
slide when
I
I
did
was-
it, yeah.
Like running.
When I was like 10 or so, we were at the fair. And remember we were selling watermelon.
that giant slide?
Yeah, that giant slide. And I went down, and I got scared and I put my hand down.
And did you break your wrist?
I didn't, but it just
It kinda burned
a
it
little
burned, and from then on, I did not go down a slide. I mean, like a kid slide, but not a hill. No, not. I'm sorry.
I'm good.
Oh my
All
goodness. So therefore my children didn't sled. It's really
Oh,
bad. It's
God.
bad.
Yeah.
No, Amira just said that to me the other day.
And pass the trauma down, the
Right.
downhill slide trauma.
Projecting
Oh, this is
trauma.
Oh, you mentioned earlier about hopscotch. So Macy said something about hopscotch. And there was a hopscotch. It was like painted, right? So it was like the walkway when we go home, and it was like, then it was like a tree, and then there was like hopscotch, and there was like another tree or whatever. That was the game.
Yes.
Like hopscotch was a thing.
We had a whole land on the
It was
playground.
it was beautiful. And so my current principal, Mr. Foreman, and I were talking a couple of years ago, and he was talking about like the gym equipment, like the jungle gym or whatever. I said, we called it the apparatus.
Yeah.
I said,
That's what
Oh, they
He
call it
was like,
equipment too.
like equipment. I said we called it at Moreland because we were advanced. We called it the apparatus. So at the Woodbury like reunion thing a few weeks ago, he meets Dr. Groves. And so he was like, I just think, first of all, I talk about her all the time. And so he was like, you are Dr. Groves. Miata talks about you, blah, 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 blah. Right? He said, so what did they call the jungle gym? And she was like, I don't know. He was like, she told me they call it the apparatus. And she was like, I guess.
I can totally
She
hear
was like, I don't know. But we call it the apparatus. The apparatus. I don't know who put that in our brains. I was like, we were advanced at Moreland. I don't know what they were doing at Heights, because he went to Heights.
Gym before, but did we have a separate apparatus? Like, yeah, but I'm saying like I never knew there. I thought there was a difference between a jungle gym and an apparatus because we had an apparatus.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So like everybody else might have had a jungle gym, but we had an apparatus. So it's funny that you say that because when I think of jungle gym, that's that thing.
Yeah,
I
right.
think the ones with the cushioning at the bottom, not the wood chips.
Right, because we
So
had
we had
wood
an
chips.
apparatus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's an apparatus. And I'm gonna stick to that. Yeah. Yeah.
And will forever be the apparatus.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Oh, that is funny.
Like we just made stuff our own. Moreland-isms, you know. That's so funny.
Let me, I don't know how much time we have left, but okay. So we've talked about how wonderful Moreland is, this foundation that all of you have in your lives that have informed everything else that you've done in your lives. And some of you have talked about being educators, and some of you have also raised your children in Shaker. So let's talk about that. You know, the impact that Moreland has had on your adult lives. So what has happened since then? You graduated, most of you graduated from Shaker and went on. What college did you go to, and what has your life been in your family since leaving Moreland Elementary School?
Well, got to be a real short story. That's a lot. But I'm thinking of when I moved back home in 2008. So my occupation, my life, I'm a performer, I'm a songwriter, I'm an actress. Again, like I mentioned earlier, Moreland was the beginning, was that place that really helped me hone that gift of creativity. And so fast forward years later, I end up being a full-time performer. I did The Color Purple, I did The Lion King. In between those two shows, I had my son who will be 18 in a week, in 6 days. Right, he will actually be 18. Right, exactly.
Shaker grad.
Exactly. Just graduated from Shaker as well too. And I remember it was 2007, and I was on the road with The Color Purple. And Micaiah was on the road with me. He was very small. He's about 18 months. And I was trying to figure out, like, okay, do I do this road life forever? You know what I'm saying? Like with my son, do I raise him on the road? Like, how do I do this? It was very tiring. It was rewarding, but also it was very difficult because I was doing a lot on my job and also, raising him as well. And so I remember, my mother and I having a conversation, and I knew that I was going to leave at some point. I didn't know when, and you talked about, maybe him coming home for about 6 months, so I could like really kind of have some time to like breathe and save some money and everything like that. And I was just like, oh, it's so long. And I remember he was fine. He was fine. You know, I brought him home and he was fine. And then, of course, once I did leave, I came home. I didn't think I was going to be home as long as I have been. You know, I was thinking, I was like, oh, maybe I'll come home to transition, be home for a couple of years, you know, and then maybe possibly move back to New York, possibly move back or move to LA, you know, be in entertainment center. And then, you know, I'm looking at my son and he's just enjoying his life and he's in Shaker, you know, he starts school and he has his friends. And I'm like, you know, this is where I grew up. I couldn't necessarily imagine going someplace else in a district that I didn't know, a city that I didn't quite know either, and going, okay, how do I navigate not just being trying to really get my career off the ground and also being a mother, but then also trying to figure out the district. It was just a lot, you know. But it was so refreshing at some point. I think it was because at some point I did just settle. I said, I'm going to be here. It wasn't when I got here that I decided that because there was some time where I was like, oh, I think I might, you know, we might just pack up and leave. And maybe he was around second or third grade. And I was like, we just gonna hang out here.
Right.
He's just gonna be here, you know. But it was also too because I saw him growing. I saw him, you know, fostering his relationships. And of course, for it to be in Shaker, there were still relationships that I had, you know, with people here. And it was nice to be back home. Like it's nice to like raise my son with my family, you know? And it was so surreal, like to see him graduate. You know, I'm like, oh my God, he graduated from the same place I graduated. We're fellow alums now. So it has been a real, real blessing. And I really appreciate that. And Shaker has changed, you know, the world has changed a lot, of course, you know, but just being able to help him and guide him and support him in the same district that I came from has been quite a blessing. Yeah.
So I have 3 Shaker graduates, 2017, 19, and as recently as 22, but you're older. So don't forget that.
Did you just come back?
So,
Did you?
But I'm going to bring you back
Okay.
in. So I actually came
Dang.
back to Shaker after leaving DC, in order to, and that's when I started my family. And again, you know, it's so funny because Miata, when my daughter was she would have had both of them, but she gave my daughter her promotion certificate from 8th grade. And then our classmate Aisha Bell Hardaway, I was so excited. I'm looking and I'm like, is she gonna give Willow her diploma? Is she gonna give Willow? Oh, and I just have the best picture of them, Aisha handing Willow her high school diploma, you know, and so like
You would keep Makai safe.
and exactly. And so I, you know, when I was working remotely, it's like one day this car pulls up. I'm like, she's yelling my name. I'm like, hold on, who is that? And I'm crossing. Well, he didn't have to cross with me. So he would get out and he never wanted to talk. He was so quiet and I made him talk to me. Like, I'm not about to sit up here and I know your mama. You gonna say hi. Every morning he looking like, oh my gosh, if she say hi to me one more time, you know, and then I was on the corner that you're at for, you know, to fill in for a year. So like these connections, like they exist and they're strong and like they're fundamental, you know, in what we had here. And again, I just don't think you get it everywhere.
Right.
You know.
So I matriculated through Shaker, and I am an educator. My kids are 24 and 19, and they are Heights graduates. I know, rub me, everyone. Give me. Right. But with that being said, I think it's really unique, the environment. We live in University Heights, and so many Shaker rights I would see at the pool, and that was like a common place for us to meet up and talk about our experiences. And I think that even though my kids matriculated through Cleveland Heights, Canterbury mainly through elementary, the interesting piece is that what we instilled in them in Shaker, that uniqueness, that utopia, it's who they are, right? So I think what we have instilled into our children, their mindset and the way they see the world and the people they come in contact with, my kids are, especially my son, because he works for the REACH program, he's constantly, I am famous. He's like, Mom, I saw someone who know you. I'm like, I know, I know. Where was that? And so, I'm constantly, especially with my son, he's constantly encountering people in the REACH. Mr. Hutch is a part of the REACH program. And so my son has been teaching in the REACH program. He's been an interim administrator. So those connections never die. And so who we are, regardless of where we end up, our kids have definitely gotten a piece of that experience. Yeah. Yeah, because there's a mindset in Shaker. And I think that what you said before is so true. It's hard to find it anywhere else. I have friends from everywhere. And the way we connect with our classmates and we reach back with each other and we, in diverse backgrounds, right? It's always like we're a family. And we're so genuinely happy to see each other, catch up, and spend time with one another. So I think it's just so unique. I think that our kids got a piece of that. And I think I could speak to that, seeing that my kids, rub me again,
Are not Shakerites.
are not Shakerites. They are Heights Tigers.
They're rivals.
The rival. Literally.
Right. But I think it's, oh, go ahead. I'll talk after you.
So all the way through Shaker, Carmen and I graduated together in 92. Went to college, ended up coming back after graduate school to Cleveland. So lived here for a little bit when Amir was a baby. Lived in Maple for a little bit and then moved to Shaker. And when Amir was in 4th grade, Aaron was going to kindergarten. So Aaron went, he started in kindergarten up, and Amir graduated in 2017. And Aaron was at the high school as well. He also was at the Innovative Center as well in 17. Sure did.
Why did I feel like
I got a 25-year-old and a 21-year-old.
I didn't realize they graduated together?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
So, and I also work for the school district. So I've been a Shaker employee since 2004. So I've been like here for a long time, invested, And so, I mean, that's just my journey here in Shaker. Multiple positions, I guess, in Shaker since I've been here.
One of the kids about I had an argument with one of my kids about Miss Whyte. And they say Miss Hunter. I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about.
I'm like, Miss Whyte. They don't know
like,
Miss Whyte.
Who are you talking about? Like, Miss Hunter. I'm like, who is Miss Hunter? Who is that? I was like, oh, Miata Whyte. And so it's like, we're so connected that we're like, I'm like, I done known her since we was knee-high to a tadpole, right? Yeah, that's Miata Whyte. That's not, who is Miss Hunter? So that's so funny because, again, we're touching each other's children, so again, like celebrity, I'm just sitting there like, I literally have it on my phone. I'm gonna show you of you giving Willa her diploma.
Aw,
It's so those things are so exciting to me.
They are.
Because you were you were Mariama's big sister. So it's like
Right. So that was even a different,
right.
that's
A different lens.
Yeah,
exactly.
a different lens.
So
Folks didn't,
I know we were popular.
folks didn't mess with me
92.
because of
Yeah.
Miata.
Don't mess with my sister. That's a
Everybody
problem.
wasn't messing with you.
Right, most people want. Well,
One
I had a
person
few people
did,
that tried.
and then they didn't again.
Yeah, because I
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
we're not gonna say
This is-
names.
In
but-
elementary
we're not gonna
school.
say names.
PG,
No, I'm just saying. They did. Don't do it.
Miata was
This
my
was an
protector.
elementary school thing. I don't think anything. I had to say anything after that.
Right.
We kind of gangster, but I mean, I heard the story. I'm like,
Yeah, Miata. Yeah, don't mess with Mariama because Miata get you. I was gonna ask. So, Carmen, did you graduate out of Shaker, or did you
Yeah.
move to? Okay, so
Yeah.
you were coming from Warrensville
Sixth grade.
in sixth grade. Yeah, I was gonna say that what I think is so special is that you go to school with people, you have your relationships then, and sometimes you go off and you may keep in touch and stuff like that or whatever. But I think what's so beautiful is that we have, even though Janessa and I may not talk for a long time, I'll just text her and she'd be like, okay, what you need or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And what's so and and the fact that Janessa, I know if there's a memory, I know who to come to, like something I can't remember this. Even yesterday when I sent you, no, David, I sent him that picture yesterday because I was even telling my mother, I was like, now that's Ross Babbitt, but I think that's Matt, but I'm not sure. And he was like, is that Ross Babbitt and Matt Freeman? I'm like, I guess I was right, I guess I was right, but it's nice too to be able to connect with your friends too, to just even help you remember, these things. Cause at our age, some stuff just is gone, but it's wonderful that we can continue to connect with each other, and we just have so much fun. I remember it was, oh gosh, okay, and we need to do this again because it's been a long time. I don't know, it was probably like 7 years ago, maybe longer.
No, much longer ago.
Was it like
at your house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got together. It was me, you, Tiffany, and it was Maisha, and Aisha. So it was more. It was a few of us Moreland folks and Lomond folks, and we just had so much fun. Just so much fun, just getting together and oh my God, we laughed so hard.
Yeah, and I think there was an argument about who gave you the name Mars.
Tiffany.
Yes, we did.
Wait, right.
Me and Tiff, but
Right.
they tried to act like it happened like when we were in junior high school. No.
Oh no, that was
No, absolutely
right.
no.
Yeah, that was a
Mars.
Moreland.
Because we may not have been able to say your name very
Right.
well.
Because it was Mars. Yeah, it was mainly Mars.
Mhm.
And I remember too, even when I ran for secretary, I think in 5th grade or something like that.
It was like a
Yeah, I had a slogan, but it was Mari. I said, "Don't be sorry, vote for Mari." You know. I have my campaign managers. Were you part of you were probably part of my
No, I
campaign
was.
too. But yeah, Mars was the name, and still till this day, like even in college, like like my athletic friends and stuff, they call me Mars and stuff. But yeah, y'all started that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I was like, hold on. Who said that? What?
Mhm.
That was 2nd grade. Like, what
Yeah.
are you talking about?
Right.
7th grade? No, 2nd grade?
Mhm.
She's been Mars forever.
For a long
yeah,
time.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I just want to say this. And I don't know if one of the reasons I really wanted to be your friend was because of Miss Anderson. And Miss Anderson and her stutter. I always thought she was so amazing because she just, I thought it took so much courage, especially with kids, because even we were really sweet kids, but kids can be difficult. And I just remember identifying with you because of her. And I was like, I'm gonna be her friend.
Wow.
Yeah. Because you were new. You were the new girl. And you were so cute and you were so little. I was like, we don't match up well because she's so little. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was so tall. So it's like I'm in the back bleachers, she in the front, and I'm like, I don't know. But I really like Miss Anderson, and I wanted her to have friends.
Wow.
And Danny Brown. And I'm just like, I'm gonna be their friend if nobody else their friend.
And y'all are my friend. Because it's funny, I was just telling my mother, because in 2nd grade, because I had Miss Sheba, and you and Tiffany were in Miss Gessler's room.
No, I had Miss Sheba and Miss
in the first
Gessler.
Okay, you had Miss Sheba in the 1st grade. So
yes.
I had her in the 2nd grade. You had Miss Gessler in the 2nd. And was Tiffany and Miss Gessler with you in the 2nd? I think so. Right. So, because that's what I remember in 2nd grade. Like I was new. I was still kind of getting used to it, and I don't remember. It was by the 3rd grade. That's when we connected. Because I remember in the 2nd grade, like I just felt kind of like I got friends, but not quite yet. You know what I mean? And then, but the 3rd grade, like we really, really meshed.
Yep.
But I didn't know that story.
Yeah, because I was just like, and it was so interesting because like I think that there was a sensitivity that I always had, but I think that in general, that's how we were. We were very accepting children. And then you're seeing somebody who's like Mariama. So let me just make sure she's comfortable. Let me make sure that she has a, a friend and she has somebody, because I remember when
makes me cry a little
Facebook
bit.
first started. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm just
But I just remember Danny Brown, like when Facebook started, and he was like, I remember you never said anything, and you always were my friend, and I just always remember that, and I was like, that's why I'm gonna be her friend. Oh, that's really sweet.
Wow.
It's your fault.
This will be considered a special edition of Witness to History. This has been absolutely wonderful. And we have a few pictures that we're going to show. So you all can tell us who's in these pictures just to scroll through, and then we'll, still have a little bit of time for our audience who's with us, to chime in and post in the chat or ask any questions. So, share with us what we see on the screen.
So this is my 6th grade promotion to the middle school. Dr. Groves is right there on the right. I'm shaking her hand. I'm, like, hey, I got my 6th grade. I graduated. I can't quite tell who's right behind me, but behind the young lady is beautiful, amazing Kirk Nims, who unfortunately passed away recently. But Kirk Nims, just the life, a huge, huge bright light. And Janessa, remind me.
I believe that's Lee Schlossberg.
Yes. Lee Schlossberg and Sam Robinson, Khalil Robinson, and then seated is Bill Ham. Bill Ham, who, and I'll tell you a story, he is actually my son's guitar teacher, which is really cool. And then there's Jackie Collins right there. So we're all graduating. I'm not quite sure who the gentleman is yet. I have to remember that. But yeah, that was a fun day. And my mother made that dress. Remember you made that dress? Yes, yes. That's right. Let's see what's next.
Oh, so this is 6th grade promotion. I really thought I was bad with that lace dress. The lace up top. Y'all see? Do you see the pearls?
I see the pearls.
My grandmother, that is my grandmother, rest in peace, grandmother Maxine Young. And my brother was like 8 weeks old because he was born May 6th. That's my brother Norman, and my mom and my little sister. And so, that was that famous brick wall. Yeah. So that was good times. And I remember, they don't remember, but Ozzie Newsome was from the Cleveland Browns, maybe because I'm a Browns fan, was our 6th grade speaker. He was our speaker, our promotion speaker, or maybe the day before, but anyway, yeah.
So this is Mariama and I at the piano. I guess we were just posing. It must have been a red and white spirit day or something. I don't know, because we both have on red and white. Those bangs.
We're banging.
And her braces.
4th grade, because I only had braces.
Mommy still has this piano with the little light. She practices on that
Yes.
now.
I think that was 4th grade because I think I only had braces in the 4th grade. I had them a very short amount of time. Yeah, just cheesing. Me and my sister.
So this is my 6th grade promotion. I don't know why both of us are looking off in both pictures. That's really interesting. But there's Dr. Groves there and lots of other people. I will not name all the people. I do know some of the names, but there's just lots of people in that picture. Oh, and I played the flute. I started playing the flute in the fifth grade.
Yeah.
5th grade. So I guess they had us playing. Jason Buckles on the drums and the. I'm not sure who else is playing the flute. I can't remember who else played. And I wonder who's playing the piano. I wonder if that's like Shelby Hivenin or something. Maybe
it looks like her hair.
Maybe it looks like her hair. Like Shelby.
Do you remember? All of a sudden, this is coming back to me. But do you remember if the song you all played was "Simple Gifts"? I feel like you played
Like the
"'Tis
Shaker
a gift
song.
to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free." I
No,
think
Maybe.
you remember that from
That's from
like
3rd grade.
Shaker Town and
Right.
the Shakers, and we would do
We
that
sang that all the time.
Right. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. For some reason, I feel it's stuck in my head. I'm like, was that the song you guys were playing? Yeah. All right. So this is fast forward. This is our 25th year reunion. You want to talk about this one?
You know what? That's actually our 20th.
20th.
I wasn't there for the 25th. That was our 20th.
Right. I'm thinking of the
Yep.
other one. Right.
Yep, that was our 20th. That is myself to the left, Tiffany Whyte, Nicole Williams, Keisha Hudson, and Mariama Whyte, and Deidre Matthews.
Yeah, that was a fun reunion. That's at Larchmere.
Larchmere Tavern.
Larchmere
Yeah.
Tavern.
That was the day before our actual reunion.
That was fun times. We had a good time. And we still look the same.
Yeah, pretty much.
We still look the same. Everyone except Nicole, I think, ended up going to Warrensville, but she was
Yeah,
through Shaker
Nicole
for a long time.
graduated from Warrensville.
From Warrensville, yeah. But fond memories. We had fun. So this was from our 25th reunion. So this was downtown. No, this was in the Flats at the Music Box. The Music Box, right. So that's me on the left. John Grimes. Next to me, Tiffany Whyte, David Good, who is in that previous picture when he was very, very young. Right, exactly. Sheila Singh and Joanna Garcia. All Moreland folks, the Moreland crew.
Moreland, yeah.
The Moreland crew. Yeah. We had fun that day.
And Joanna, she lives in Shaker.
Yep.
She lives in Shaker now.
Yep. Was she in DC?
She was
Wasn't
in
that it?
Canada at one point in
Okay.
time, and then I can't remember exactly where she was after that. But
Yeah.
she's here in Shaker. She has a son that probably clapped out from Mercer, definitely. And I want to say he's going to the 5th grade.
Wow.
So where that
Wow.
will be
I
at
remember
this
when he was
point,
a
I don't
baby.
know. But he'll stay at Mercer. Okay. So yeah, but she's here. So
Yep. All right. So when I was talking earlier about our school play, first school play, 4th grade, we did like a rendition of Cats.
Yes,
So
'cause
that
Cats
is why
was
we
big
are
then.
all dressed up in cat gear. And so that was my first solo. I sang You've Got a Friend. I think that was the song. You've Got a Friend. And Janessa's back there too. Tell them where you at, Janessa.
Yeah, I'm on the right side with my hand like that, like a cat, meow, meow, meow. And hair's all a mess because we were cats, remember? And yeah, so much fun. And did we didn't only perform that day, we got to perform for the PTA at night as a special performance because we were so great. Okay. We were so Broadway bound. Okay. Yes, but it was an incredible performance. The makeup was a little lacking, but the parents volunteered and they did a great job.
Yes. Oh my goodness. This was absolutely wonderful. And I remember sometimes just hearing you all laugh, and it would make me laugh. Yes, it would. It would. So thank you all for being here today.
Thank you for having
This has been such a wonderful, and this is going to be just a wonderful contribution to the archives of Moreland Elementary School.
You know what? Before we end, I think it's only fair. I think we spent a lot of time talking about Dr. Groves and Miss Lane, but I think that Donna Whyte should be revered as well, right? So I would like to thank Mariama and Miata for sharing your mom with us because you are just as revered. Like when you tell the story when my son flagged you down.
Yes.
My
Chester.
son, Donna Whyte, is being very humble because my son flagged her down on Superior, and she tells this story about how he's like, Miss Whyte, and it just shows how the love we have for each other. the connections that we have has spilled over to our
Oh,
children
thank you.
because
Oh,
you
nice.
too are revered, and so I think that that's
Oh, thank you,
important
Carmen.
to mention. And coming to Moreland in 6th grade, Miata was one of my first friends, and I remember spending the night. And my mom wasn't big about me spending the night over people's houses. And I remember the fight when Miata said they didn't eat meat. She said that she knew that wasn't them. Because I told Miss Whyte the story. They didn't. So I
And I knew y'all didn't need me.
and so the whole diversity piece of coming to Shaker, even though Moreland was 99% Black, we were learning diversity amongst our friends, amongst our kinships. And so they did not eat meat. And I remember spending the night over there, and I was like, all right, well. And we had spaghetti that night. And I remember everything was separate, and you were just so gracious. I remember feeling comfortable. You know how when you're a kid and you spend the night over people's house, you like, their parents can make you feel uncomfortable. You can feel like you don't belong here because you're not like us. And that whole not eating meat thing could make you feel like, wait, so is my mother doing everything wrong?
Oh.
And I just remember you just being gracious and kind. And so I just want to thank you for that, and want you to know that you're also revered for everything you have been in the community. I am a Cleveland State alum, and so you are a powerful force at Cleveland State. And so I just wanted you to know that. Yeah, we love you. We love you.
And inspirational too.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
because she went from Miss Groves to Dr. Groves, and Miss White went from Miss White to Dr. White.
Yes.
You know, so watching her journey and watching her talk at commencements and sit on a stage and pass out diplomas and things like that was always an incredible
Absolutely.
situation and something to aspire to, you know, because not only did you touch these ladies by our connection with them, you've inspired us tremendously. So, you know, it's been an honor to be here. Definitely fun, but a true honor, and a testament to your greatness as well. So.
Okay. This is Witness to
We criers. We are criers.
Well, this was
We
a
are
special
criers.
edition of Witness to History, as you can see.
Well, you will be laughing at me all the time.
As I said, this is a major contribution to our, archives. I think of Shaker Heights, to hear your stories today. And it's so important because, as we know, Moreland Elementary School closed after that last year. Yes, you're the last class that graduated from Moreland Elementary School, and it will forever be celebrated because you were here, because of all the students from 1926 until 1987 when it closed. We'll celebrate the greatness of Moreland Elementary School. So thank you all.
Thank you.
So this will be a longer version of Witness to History. Everybody's going to hang on and listen to what's going on. But I'm always looking for people to be our guests on Witness to History. And to let you know, too, this is July 21st, and on August 4th, there will be a celebration right here at the library about Moreland Elementary School. Everybody's invited from 2 to 4 o'clock. That's August 4th, Sunday. And we'll have a mini version of Witness to History that will air in August at that time. But if anybody's interested in being my guest, here's my number. Everybody in Shaker has my number because this is up here every time.
Right.
And I want to thank everybody for being here, and thank all of you. Thank Mariama, Janessa, Carmen, and Miata for being with us. And everybody have a great evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mama.